What is a dirty secret of your industry that the general public has no clue about, but everyone in your field knows?
I work in the golf industry. The latest and greatest equipment isn't any better than what was available last year or the year before that. It's been quite a few years since there has been any actual improvement in technology. It's basically been maxed out for years now.
I work for a big box retailer. We have bins at the front for people to recycle their plastic shopping bags. Each morning, they're taken to the back of the store and emptied into the garbage compactor. The amount of perfectly good product that is thrown away on a daily basis is astonishing.
When I worked at McDonald's, the separate bin holes for general waste, plastic recycling, and paper recycling all led to the same general waste bag. They also fired a struggling single mom for stealing a 99p cheeseburger that had been thrown away anyway. The supervisor training me told me this like it was some kind of flex. She also called my 17-year-old black colleague the N-word, and the store manager did nothing about it, but that's a whole other matter.
Until earlier this year, I thought plastic shopping bags were recyclable. I truly think someone said that to me in the 90s, and I never questioned it. Now I've been taking them to a recycle bin in front of the grocery store. I really hope they're actually recycling them.
I work in hospitality. While I always change out blankets between clients in the spa, a lot of people don't. The same blanket can be used on multiple people before it gets washed, and a lot of owners encourage that to keep the laundry volume down.
I used to work maintenance in a few motels. I can definitely confirm that blankets and comforters aren't washed daily, maybe monthly if you're lucky. Pillows never got washed. Housekeeping doesn't get paid much, and they're always pressured to turn rooms over as fast as possible. Nothing in that room is as clean as you think it is.
Construction. The world is built by the lowest bidder.
New homes are the worst. Friends moved into a new development, and the shoddiness was obvious. Crooked outlets, one coat of paint where there should have been two, cracked tiles in the bathroom, leaky taps. There's no way you can build a house in 2 months and have quality. The only house that looked decent was the model home, because it had every top-of-the-line feature to sell to people.
This is plain to see with British road surfacing contracts of the last 30 years. Asphalt often doesn't get flattened properly, causing nausea when driven over. Drain covers are left too high or low. The road surface begins to fall apart within a year.
Not enough people talk about this. Look at every major American city and any of the apartment buildings constructed in the past 15 years or so.
Thank you for your patience. We are experiencing a higher than usual volume of calls, and your call may take longer than expected. Yeah, about that. We're experiencing a normal volume of calls. We just laid off a ton of staff during or just after COVID, and we don't plan on replacing them anytime soon because that would cost money. Edit punctuation.
I was in call centers long before COVID. COVID was just an excuse. They've been doing this for decades.
Environmental consulting goes through a ton of single-use plastic. It always feels a bit ironic, doing testing borings to check closed landfill contamination and then going back to the shop to fill a dumpster with the push probe casings.
Mental health professionals didn't get into this work because we're mentally healthy. Aviation. Mental issues will invalidate your license, but disclosing mental issues is voluntary. So guess what? 0 people in aviation have mental issues.
That includes air traffic control. They have to keep a Class A pilot's medical certificate, so no depression allowed, regardless of stress level. No sleep disorders either, despite daily rotating shifts and mandated tactical caffeine.
Similar issue with my job when I was in the service. Mental issues could strip you of your clearance, which means you lost your MOS, your specific job within the military, and you could end up being reclassed as something else. So no one ever brought it up. Same with alcoholism.
My husband works in aviation. He also has sleep apnea, but cannot get it looked at because he'd have to pause his license for 6 months, I think, for evaluation. He also cannot take any sort of GLP-1 for weight loss because it just shows up as diabetic meds.
Longevity of manufactured electronics, like appliances and tools, is not really even in the top 10 things considered for the consumer. It's all about cost reductions and what price you can sell it for. If you're lucky, it will be better than the prior model in maybe one single way. But they probably removed some of the brushes in the motor you can't see to pay for the improvement. This is how we end up with shoddy Korean refrigerators that last 1 week longer than the extended warranty you buy. The technology to make them last 30 years has been around forever, but the will to keep it that way has evaporated. Stay away from LG and Samsung. Mathematics professor here. At least in my college, the highest level classes are mostly taught by the worst teachers. They don't explain things because they can't relate to people who need things explained. The higher-ups figure that people taking these courses don't need explanations. The students who worked their way up to these courses are screwed. Still sounds better than art school. Professors pick 1 or 2 students from each section who they think might have the talent to make it, and ignore everyone else.
Also from academia, a lawyer I know teaches part-time at a law school in his field of expertise. If you take into account all the hours he spends, he gets paid less than minimum wage. My niece gets paid more for coaching volleyball at a middle school. He was reading an evaluation once that started a complaint by saying, "These professors get paid good money," and he burst out laughing.
I worked for a giant plastics company making non-woven materials. They were able to say that a certain percentage of their material was made from recycled plastic because the defective material was reground and melted back into pellets and then run through the machine again. Maybe not even defective, but done so to meet the criteria for the recycled requirements. Then I had to sit through monthly meetings so they could explain why plastic is so good for the environment.
Much of the drinkable water in the United States is only drinkable because chemicals are shipped in on a regular basis. If this shipping broke down somehow, many municipalities could go without clean drinking water within a week. This is probably true everywhere that chlorinates their water network, not just the US. And pretty much every water network should chlorinate its water. Even if the aquifer is pristine, it doesn't take much for contamination to get in.
Eyeglasses. They are extremely marked up. Even the cheapest frames we get for $10 will be sold for $100. That's not even including the ridiculously marked up lenses.
I used to do medical billing. The number of billing mistakes is mind-blowing, and the average American does not understand how the billing systems work, let alone what an EOB is. So most end up just paying what their statement says, even when the EOB says they owe less.
Hell, even people who work in the medical field don't always understand all of the nuances of each plan's weird wording. It's super confusing, and I am convinced that's by design. Also, sometimes the insurance customer service call center tells patients the wrong thing or a very selective version of the truth, so then they get mad at providers.
E-commerce here, a lot of the stuff you buy is off AliExpress, way more than most people realize. Saunas, hot tubs, red light masks, you name it, most brands are sourcing from AliExpress.
Pharmacy. The number of times in a day we prevent a prescriber error that could leave a patient in the hospital or dead is usually not huge, but it's almost never zero.
Had the staff member who served me today looking inquisitively at me as I was buying my medications. She wanted to confirm with me about what I'm taking, but she was unsure of herself. I have a new drug on board that is in some way related to pregnancy. I can't get pregnant, and they know this. I am taking this drug for the other benefits. If a staff member doesn't know, it should be okay to privately and respectfully ask. The more they ask, the better equipped they will be to handle the next person in my situation.
I work in call center software administration. When they say the call is being recorded, they mean even on hold. You are being recorded. The software picks up everything you say, and a lot of what anyone in the background may say. Just because you can't hear us doesn't mean we don't hear you.
I work in a customer service center as operational support, and we can even see what you are typing when you are using the chat function before you press send. We can see every spelling mistake and curse word you want to send, but then delete before actually sending your message. I also confirm that we hear everything when you are on hold.
A friend of mine worked at a call center too, and he told me he has heard some bad cases of domestic violence when people were on hold. All he could do was report it to his boss, but they weren't allowed to do anything with it because they don't explicitly say they're being recorded while on hold. This was one of the reasons he quit.
As a hold singer, I am embarrassed.
I used to work as a customer service assistant, and I can vouch for this. I literally hear them talking even while they are on hold with music. They think I don't hear them. Sometimes my manager will jump in to hear our calls too. I've worked in a whole lot of restaurants. The vast majority of restaurants would fail a health inspection if they came during normal service hours.
From my time in IT, turning your computer off and on fixes 99% of the problems.
It does, but if the issue is constantly recurring, don't reboot it. Keep the error message up and call your IT support. So many tickets where I was doing this and it came up with an error, then stopped working. What did the error say? I don't know.
When a professor or other scholar publishes new research in a journal, they don't make a single cent off that publication. In some cases, publishing actually costs money. Publishing a book also usually doesn't make any money. It's not a lucrative revenue stream. It's not a revenue stream at all for the vast majority of scholars.
The professors who peer review those articles don't get any money either, and the cost of reading those articles is sky high. The established journals are basically making money for free at this point, except maybe paying for some proofreading. They get money from authors, peer reviews by professors for free, and sell for a high price.
I used to work in film and TV. Everyone is wearing a wig. Wrinkles and imperfections are taken out using VFX. Your favorite actor is 5 feet tall, with a big head and thinning hair in real life. That's something I've noticed when you see actors on the red carpet. Sure, they look great, but many of them are smaller in stature than how they often appear on film. They often have oddly large heads, and that lovely young actress who looks slender and sexy on film? She looks absolutely emaciated, way, way too skinny. It's all an illusion.
It always shocks me to see the actual height of actors because screens make them look so big when they want. Hemsworth being the only original Avenger over 6 feet tall caught me off guard because it doesn't seem like Ruffalo and RDJ are that short.
I don't have experience of everyone wearing a wig, but even extras or supporting artists spend up to an hour in hair and makeup when you barely see them on screen, so you could only imagine what they do to the stars.
Even Elijah Wood? He lied to us.
No members of Congress or senators ever read the bills before voting. It would be impossible, and they're much too busy. They rely on their staffers, and their staffers rely on the committee staff.
Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button. It really helps. Subscribe for more, and tap the bell so you don't miss the next one.